Story 1. A glitch in time, Evelyn Ambers. My grandmother's best friend in the 70s. A mysterious beauty, found dead stabbed in the chest. No suspects. No note. No clues. Just a cold body and colder silence. This summer, I'm staying with my grandma. And honestly, I'm excited about it. We're close. Maybe too close, some might say. As soon as I got there, she ran out and wrapped me in a tight hug. "Oh, Ellie, it's so good to see you, my dear," she said, practically glowing. "Good to see you too, Grandma. Come inside, I'm making mimosas." Oh, hell yeah. We walked into the house, the smell of citrus already in the air. Glasses were lined up on the counter, bubbles rising in a pitcher. My grandma loves to drink, and hell, I love drinking with her. She took off her oversized, stylish sunglasses and tucked them into her shirt like a movie star. A moment later, my grandpa walked in and grinned. "Ellie, you're here," he said, pulling me into a hug. Then he looked at the counter. Ooh, and Grandma already busted out the mimosas. We sat and chatted for hours. They told me how they met. Turns out it was at Evelyn's funeral. My grandpa had come from out of town to comfort a friend who'd known Evelyn. My grandma, of course, was Evelyn's best friend. Kind of morbid, kind of cool. The hours passed, and yep, we were drunk. Laughing, reminiscing, chasing old stories with bottomless mimosas. Eventually, nostalgia got the better of us, and we decided to go on a little memory expedition. The attic. It smelled like dust and forgotten perfume. My grandma rummaged through a stack of boxes until she pulled something out with a triumphant little gasp. An ornate, oddly shaped mirror gold trim, floral carvings, and a glass so clean it almost looked wet. "This was Evelyn's," she said, holding it up like a prize. "Beautiful, right?" "Very beautiful," I nodded, mimosa still in hand, bubbles fizzing lazily to the surface. "Well, you can have it," I blinked. "What?" "Have it," she said again, waving a hand like it was nothing. "It's just sitting up here in this dingy old box. You should put that pretty mirror to good use." I didn't know what to say. I mean, it was gorgeous, but something about it gave me goosebumps. Still, with the warmth of champagne humming in my veins, I shrugged and smiled. "Okay," I said. "Thanks." But the moment I touched it, the attic felt colder. Just a breath, just a flicker, gone before I could question it. That night I got ready for bed. The mirror sat perched on the nightstand, gleaming even in the dim light. It really was a sight elegant old, like it didn't quite belong in this century. Later, I stepped out onto the porch with it. I don't know why. I guess I wanted to show it off. I FaceTimed my mom. "Look what Grandma gave me," I said, flipping the camera. It was Evelyn's. My mom tilted her head on the screen. "It's gorgeous. Kind of spooky, though." I laughed it off. "Yeah, well, it's mine now." But then I looked up. The clouds had shifted, heavy, dark, churning like smoke. Something in the air felt charged. "Mama, I gotta go," I said, quickly hanging up and shoving my phone into my pocket. The clouds grumbled, and then the sky erupted. Lightning cracked open the heavens, flash after flash, stretching across the horizon like Christmas lights gone haywire. I watched, completely still, half entranced by it. That's when I heard the crash. A blinding white light exploded in front of me, and I stumbled backward, my ears ringing. For a moment, the world flickered. Did I just get struck by lightning? I rubbed my head, disoriented, and paused. My hair felt longer, way longer, and when I looked down, ginger. My hair was ginger. I am not ginger. I scrambled to my feet and looked around. I was no longer on the porch. No longer at Grandma's. No longer in my time. The floor was grimy black tile. Neon lights bled in from under a bathroom stall door. Faint disco music pulsed through the walls. I was in a club. In the 70s, my mind whispered. My eyes darted to the mirror on the wall, smudged with makeup and fingerprints. I stepped toward it, dread curdling in my stomach. The girl in the mirror wasn't me. I screamed. "What the shit?" The redhead in the reflection screamed back. I didn't wait. I burst out of the bathroom, heart pounding, lungs tight, head spinning. Who the hell was I? And more importantly, where the hell was I? I stumbled out onto the dance floor, dazed, squinting into the kaleidoscope of color and movement. The music thumped loud, funky, alive. Bodies moved in waves under spinning lights, sweat glistening on faces, sequins catching flashes of purple and gold. And then I saw her. A woman beautiful, radiant, absolutely killing it on the dance floor. Her moves were flawless, confident, magnetic. But more than that, she looked familiar. No way. Is that my grandma? But, hot? I pushed through the crowd, dodging arms and hips and swaying afros, until I reached the center of the floor. My heart was thundering harder than the bass. She spotted me and grinned. "Ah, Evelyn, there you are," she called out, still dancing like this was just another Saturday night. "Holy crap," I whispered. "I'm Evelyn." She gave me a weird look and laughed. Yeah? How drunk are you?" I stared at her young grandma, not knowing whether to faint, scream, or start dancing too. The mirror, the lightning, the ginger hair. It wasn't a dream. I was in the 70s, and I wasn't me anymore. I threw my shoulders into a shrug and started to dance. I mean, might as well, right? The music pulsed through me like a second heartbeat. I let the beat carry me, matching my grandma Heather step for step. She was in her prime, alive in every way, laughing with her whole face. It was surreal. Eventually the night wound down and we left the club, arms looped, slightly buzzed and flushed from dancing. Heather. I began cautiously as we strolled down the street, the neon signs flickering behind us. "Yeah?" she said, kicking off her heels and walking barefoot like she owned the sidewalk. "Do you ever feel unsafe around here?" She gave me a side eye. No, why would you say that?" I shrugged, trying to keep my face neutral. How was I supposed to tell her I'm going to be murdered soon right here, in this city? But then a more horrifying thought hit me like a punch to the gut. "What's the date?" "What day is it?" I asked, trying to sound casual. Heather chuckled. "Girl, you really did drink too much. It's April 7th, 1973. "Ah," I said, smiling through my sudden nausea. "Okay, cool. I die in 2 days." We walked the streets of California, the night air cool and buzzing with leftover energy from the club. The 70s had a vibe, no doubt, something gritty, electric, and a little dangerous. We walked, and walked, and walked, until the streetlights got dimmer, the sidewalks cracked, and we stepped into a neighborhood that gave me the creeps. Heather, my grandma, flagged a taxi at the corner. "Bye, Ev," she called, waving as the cab pulled up. I waved back, trying to smile. Then I turned to face Evelyn's house. It wasn't exactly inviting. Peeling paint, a sagging porch, dead plants and cracked pots. It looked like the kind of place stories don't end well in. I stepped inside quietly and immediately saw a woman passed out on the couch, mid-40s maybe, makeup smudged. A cigarette burned in the ashtray next to her hand. She must be Evelyn's mom. I gently closed the door behind me, trying not to wake her. The wood floor creaked beneath my feet. Her eyes snapped open. She jerked upright and stumbled toward me, squinting. "Great. Where were you?" she slurred, already stumbling sideways. She reeked of vodka and bitterness. "I was out," I replied shortly, trying not to flinch. She sneered. "Of course you were, slut." And then she shoved me. Hard. Right into the wall. My shoulder hit first, pain blooming through my upper arm. "Go to your room," she hissed, grabbing a nearly empty bottle off the counter. "If you know what's good for you." I stood frozen for a beat, breath caught in my throat. This was Evelyn's life, and now I was her. The next morning was nerve-wracking, to say the least. I woke up in Evelyn's small, musty bedroom, light streaming through a cracked window. I dressed quickly and tiptoed through the hallway, careful not to make the floorboards creak. The last thing I wanted was another run-in with her mom. When I got outside, I was relieved to see Heather, my grandma waiting for me on the sidewalk, already in high-waisted jeans, a tied-up blouse, and huge sunglasses. "All right, let's hit the beach, shall we?" she said cheerfully. She whistled, and a yellow taxi pulled right over, like a scene out of a movie. We climbed in, and soon we were headed toward the water. There was a lull as we drove, the sunlight filtering through the dusty windows, the driver humming to some soft rock station. Heather finally broke the silence. "So, how are things holding up at home since your dad left?" I blinked. This poor girl. Of course Evelyn had a whole mess of a backstory. "Fine," I muttered, hoping that was the right answer. Heather glanced over at me, concern tightening her brow. "You know, you can always stay with me if things get bad. Better not poke the bear." "I'll be okay," I said quickly. She sighed softly, then shrugged. "All right," a beat passed. Then she cracked a devious smile. Well, on a completely different note. How's managing 2 boyfriends? I blinked. Excuse me? Her grin widened. You know James and Ronnie? You juggling both of them? Or has one claimed the prize? Evelyn, what the actual fuck da? Oh. Heather stared at me, waiting with bated breath, a playful smirk tugging at the corners of her mouth. I'm juggling both? I offered, my voice cracking halfway through. Her eyebrow arched. You sure about that? She asked lightly, chuckling as she leaned back in the seat. I nodded way too fast. Yep, definitely. Total juggler. She let out a small laugh and flicked open her oversized sunglasses, sliding them onto her face like she was about to watch the drama unfold in high definition. If you say so, she said, smirking to herself and looking out the window. I sank lower into my seat. Great. Now I have 2 boyfriends, 2 days to live, and I still don't have any idea who stabbed me. The taxi rolled to a stop near the beach, and we hopped out. It was surprisingly quiet. Just a few people scattered lazily across the sand, some sunbathing, some reading, a couple splashing around in the shallows. The waves rolled in slow and gentle, like they had all the time in the world. We walked toward the water, the sand hot beneath our feet. Heather slipped off her cover-up with a flourish, revealing a baby pink swimsuit, small, stylish, and definitely designed to turn heads. I blinked. Grandma was a heartbreaker. I could definitely tell. We swam and talked for a while. Grandma had always been a badass, but 70s Heather? She was effortlessly cool, confident, bold, and honestly kind of intimidating. Eventually, we laid out on the sand, warm and sun-drenched, sipping from glass soda bottles and letting the breeze do its thing. That's when a guy walked up. Hi, Ronnie, Heather said with a knowing smile. I sat up slightly. Hi, Ronnie, I echoed, trying to sound casual, normal, like I wasn't a time-traveling imposter in someone else's body. He was soaked from the ocean, droplets still clinging to his tan skin, hair pushed back messily. He grinned at me, at Evelyn, and plopped right down beside me. Correction, on top of me. Then he leaned in for a kiss. I froze for a second, shocked. But, okay, wow. He was cute. Tall. Tanned. A smile that looked like it could get away with murder. Well played, Evelyn. Well played. As we pulled apart, he nodded toward a guy a few blankets away, dark-haired, brooding, sitting alone under an umbrella, glaring daggers at us. Did you tell that loser we're exclusive now? Ronnie asked casually, a little smug. I followed his gaze. The guy James, I was guessing, was full-on scowling at us. So, Evelyn must have broken the news. And judging by his expression, James didn't take it well. Great. A love triangle. 2 days to live. This just kept getting better. I paused for a moment, thinking. So far, Evelyn had an abusive, blackout drunk mother, and a guy who looked ready to commit a felony over getting dumped. 2 potential suspects. Hell yeah. I'm not just the victim anymore. I'm a killer detective. Heather, of course, decided to add fuel to the fire. She cupped her hands around her mouth and shouted across the sand, Hey, freak! This isn't a peep show, move along. Oh my God. She had zero chill. Absolutely none. James glared for a long second, jaw tight, then started gathering his stuff one item at a time. Towel, book, flip-flops, hat, rage. He stalked off the beach without saying a word. I watched him go, uneasy. Did Grandma just get Evelyn killed? With that mouth of hers? Ronnie and Heather high-fived like they'd just scored a touchdown. Let's get out of here, Ronnie said, suddenly scooping me up in his arms. Great idea, I laughed, still catching my balance. Let's go dance tonight. We started packing up towels, sunglasses, soda bottles. That's when a girl strolled by, slow and deliberate. Ronnie stiffened immediately. Uh-oh. She stopped right in front of me. Her eyes locked onto mine, cool and unreadable. Then she glanced at Ronnie. Back at me. Then Ronnie again. Something unspoken passed between them. The air felt heavier, like the sand itself had paused to listen. Evelyn, she finally said, voice flat. I nodded slowly. Yeah? She didn't respond. Just gave a tight, unreadable smile, more teeth than warmth, and walked off without another word. I turned to Ronnie. Who was that? He scratched the back of his neck, suddenly very interested in the ground. No one, he said. Just drama. 3 suspects now. The girl looked me up and down slow, deliberate. Then, without a word, she slapped me. Hard. My head jerked to the side. The sting bloomed across my cheek, hot and immediate. Heather gasped. Ronnie stepped forward, half shouting, "Hey!" The girl didn't even flinch. She just narrowed her eyes at me like I was the one who'd done something wrong. Then she turned on her heel and walked away, hips swaying like she owned the damn beach. I stood frozen, heart hammering, brain trying to catch up. Ronnie gently brushed his thumb across my cheek where she'd slapped me. Soft, careful, almost guilty. He must have really liked Evelyn. Sad, honestly. We walked toward the street in silence for a moment, the tension trailing behind us like smoke. "I'll reunite with you lovebirds later," Heather called out, already flagging another cab, totally unfazed. Ronnie gave me a half smile, but it didn't reach his eyes. I could tell he felt bad about the slap, about the girl, maybe about more than I knew yet. We didn't talk much after that, just walked, hand in hand, through the streets of a city that somehow wasn't mine, but now felt like it was pressing in from all sides. Back to his place, back into Evelyn's life, a life with sharp corners I was only just beginning to see. Ronnie had his own place, a cute little standalone apartment tucked behind a row of bungalows, with string lights hanging haphazardly along the porch. When we walked inside, he immediately launched into an apology. Profuse, rambling, something about how messy things had gotten with her. How it wasn't what it looked like, how it ended months ago. I just nodded and smiled, pretending to care. What did it mean to me? I wasn't Evelyn, but I listened anyway. Ronnie was charming when he wasn't caught in drama. He told me he was in school to be a surgeon, talked about his family oldest of 4 boys, all chaos and sports and scraped knees. Strict but loving parents, a golden child story, neatly wrapped. Honestly, this guy was a catch. Eventually, the conversation tapered off. Ronnie stood and stretched, then made his way toward the bathroom. A second later, I heard the faucet squeak on, then his voice, light and teasing. "Care to join?" I smirked, leaning in the doorway. I'd be more than happy to. The bathroom was already warm, steam curling out from behind the half-closed door. I stepped in, toes sinking into the shaggy bath mat, and Ronnie was there, already under the spray, slick hair pushed back, that easy boyish grin on his face. I slipped out of my clothes slowly, deliberately. Evelyn's body moved like it was used to being admired, confident, comfortable in skin I was still getting used to. He held out his hand. I took it. The water was hot and steady, thundering over our heads like summer rain. He wrapped his arms around my waist, pulling me in close. My hands rested on his chest, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breath. The heat of him, the slight tremble of anticipation. "You're different tonight," he murmured, brushing wet hair from my face. "I like it." I kissed him before I had to answer. It was slow, warm, and surprisingly gentle-like. He wasn't just trying to touch me, but memorize me. And I let him, because for a moment, it felt like maybe Evelyn we weren't doomed yet. But when he leaned down to kiss my neck, I caught my reflection in the fogged mirror. And for a split second, it wasn't Evelyn. It was me, Ellie, staring back, eyes wide. Then the steam swallowed the image whole. Later that night, the club's energy buzzed like static in the air. The music thumped like a second heartbeat, and bodies shimmered beneath the disco lights, moving in time, lost in rhythm, lost in each other. I spotted Heather at the bar, her blonde blowout bouncing as she waved me over. Her smile was wide, effortless. She looked like she owned the room, and honestly, maybe she did. "Shots!" she shouted over the music, already flagging the bartender. 3 small glasses appeared in front of us in a blur of movement and neon. "To dancing and bad decisions," we clinked. We downed them. I felt the burn lace down my throat like fire. That's when it hit me, this feeling, the unmistakable sensation of eyes on me, heavy, unblinking. I turned slowly, scanning the crowd. And there he was, James, standing at the far end of the bar, half shrouded in shadow, just watching. His drink sat untouched on the counter. His expression was blank, unreadable. Almost too calm for a place like this. The kind of calm you feel right before something breaks. He didn't smile, didn't nod, just stared. I swallowed hard and turned back to Heather and Ronnie, trying to shake the chill creeping up my spine. But even as I smiled, laughed, danced, I could still feel him. I excused myself from Heather and Ronnie with a weak smile and a muttered, "Be right back." Neither of them heard me over the music, too wrapped up in each other's orbit to notice the shadow slinking at the edge of mine. I approached the far end of the bar slowly, my heels clicking softly against the sticky floor. The closer I got, the more real the dread felt. Not just nerves, but recognition, like muscle memory recoiling from something it already knew was dangerous. James didn't move. He just stood there, eyes locked on mine, like he'd been waiting. "You know," I said carefully, "the staring's a little much." He tilted his head slightly, a humorless smile playing at his lips. "You're not acting like yourself." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "You've been off." He leaned in a little, voice lower now. "You pretend like you're fine, but I can tell. Something's different about you, Evelyn." That name on his lips felt like a trap. I tried to play it cool. "You stalking me now?" "Wouldn't have to if you didn't run off with Ronnie like a damn soap opera." His eyes darkened. "Thought we had something. Or did that mean nothing?" I opened my mouth, but Evelyn's memories weren't mine. I didn't know what they had or didn't, but something in his tone made my stomach twist. "James, whatever happened between you and Evelyn?" "You are Evelyn," he interrupted, voice sharp now, like the sound of glass cracking. "Aren't you?" I took a slow step back. He reached into his coat pocket and I flinched, but all he pulled out was a cigarette. He lit it slowly, deliberately. In the flare of the flame, I saw it. He knew. Not just that something was wrong, but I didn't belong here. "You should be careful," he said, exhaling smoke into the air. "Things have a way of catching up to you, even if you're pretending." I turned and walked away without answering. And even with the music pounding around me, my heart was louder. April 9th, 1973. The day I'm supposed to die. I woke up before the sun. The house was still and cold, like it knew what was coming. Evelyn's mother was passed out on the couch again, snoring softly, a bottle dangling from her hand. I tiptoed past her, heart hammering, every creak in the floorboard sounding like a gunshot. I stared at myself, Evelyn, in the bathroom mirror. Her face, her freckles, her ginger curls, my eyes. I was a ghost in her skin. Today, someone was going to kill this girl. Me. But who? James? Her abusive mother? That ex-girlfriend of Ronnie's? Or was it someone else entirely? And then there was this awful thought, quiet but constant. I walked down the sun-drenched sidewalk to meet Heather. She was already perched on a stool at the corner milkshake shop, looking effortlessly put together as usual, hair curled just right, sunglasses perched on her head like a movie star. "Morning, sunshine," she grinned, sipping something pink through a straw. Then her eyes flicked over me. "Damn, girl, you look awful." I tried to smile, but it felt like my face was made of stone. "I didn't sleep well," I said, voice low. Heather cocked her head, the grin slipping just slightly. "Well, why don't we go back to my place and relax? Throw a record on. Lay low." I stared at her for a moment too long. My voice faltered. "I think I'm just gonna go home." She blinked. "Home?" I nodded. "I love you." The words tumbled out like they weighed 100 pounds. I walked home in silence. Every footstep echoed like a countdown. It was happening today, and I still didn't know who was going to kill me. I paused at Evelyn's doorstep, hand trembling over the knob. I didn't want to go in. I didn't want to die, but I did. Inside, her mom was passed out on the couch, a cigarette smoldering between her fingers. I didn't even flinch, just walked past her and into Evelyn's room. My room now, I guess, and sat down on the edge of the bed. My thoughts were loud, disorganized. Maybe I wasn't meant to stop this. Maybe I was just meant to understand it. I stared at the mirror on the nightstand, the one that brought me here. My own eyes stared back, but they weren't really mine. Not anymore. Crash. The front door slammed open. My heart stopped. Footsteps. Fast, angry. Then her. Me. My real body. She was breathing hard, eyes wild, hair soaked from the rain, skin too pale. And in her hand a knife. "You need to die!" she screamed. I froze. What are you— "It's me," she said. "Evelyn, trapped in your body." She was shaking now. Her voice cracked. "I killed myself." But you switched me. You changed things. And I got to know Heather. She told me everything. Tears ran down my face. My death. It was the catalyst. Your grandmother met your grandfather at my funeral. Without me dying, they never meet. And you? You never exist. She stepped forward. So die. The knife came down fast, too fast. I didn't scream. There was only a blinding pulse of white. Then I woke up gasping. Back in my own body. Back in my own time. The mirror was on the floor, shattered into 1,000 glittering pieces, like it had exploded from the inside out. My hand trembled as I touched my chest. No wounds. No blood. Just a dull phantom ache. The summer light spilled across my bedroom in my grandma's house. The air smelled like citrus and coffee. I heard her in the kitchen humming a tune alive, untouched by what just happened. I walked out slowly like I didn't quite trust the ground. There she is, Grandma said, smiling. You were out cold, kiddo. Must have been the mimosas, huh? I forced a laugh. Yeah, must have been. She turned her back. I stared at her a moment too long. I had her nose, her laugh. Her entire existence was built on the death of a girl who never got the life she deserved. Later that day I walked to the attic. The box was still there, but the mirror gone. Like it had never existed. No evidence. No proof. Just memories that didn't belong to me and a weight in my chest that I'd carry forever. Evelyn Ambers didn't leave a note. No clues. No trace. Just a memory.